yet still have a smaller portion size, how are we going to do that? Using traditional methods, how are we going to do that? If I wanted to menu a 6-ounce ribeye, so I can hit a certain price point for a specific type of customer that I'm looking for, we bring them in and they don't want big old things. They want kind of more petite cut. And I can't afford to put the tenderloin on the menu. It's just too dang expensive. And I like ribeye. It's got a lot of flavor to it. Tenderloin, how many of you guys eat tenderloin? Well, Gary does, but he gets paid a lot more than I do. But tenderloin's not usually going to have as much marbling in it as a ribeye will. And so it definitely doesn't have quite as much flavor. It's very tender, but so are marshmallows, right? Okay. So we're looking at something that has a lot of flavor to it. And we want to have that on our menu, but we're not going to put our tenderloin on the menu. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut myself a nice 6-ounce ribeye. Oh, this is nice. Look at that. Woo! Yes. Okay, now, doesn't that just stand right up on a plate? Put that right there. See, even the fly's excited. Okay. Put that right on the plate. That's going to fill you up, isn't it? I'm going to hit my price point. Yes! Got a ribeye on the menu. Woo! Hooray! All right, now I'll walk up to the customer and say, how would you like your steak done, sir?
Medium rare.
You want medium rare? Okay, what I can do for you is raw or cremated. Which one would you like? An even bigger ribeye. This is a pretty small ribeye, but compared to some that I've seen. But if this were a even bigger ribeye, that's going to get even thinner because we still sell by weight in the food service industry and even in the retail industry. We sell by weight. We don't sell by thickness or dimension yet. Okay. So this is something that we have to address. All right. The other thing that we have to address too is that there are 3 muscles, main muscles. We have the actual rib eye muscle. It's called the longissimus dorsi muscle. Dorsi, because it is long in the back and it's dorsal, like dorsal fin. All right, and then we have the spinalis dorsi muscle right here. That's that beautiful little cap muscle. Ooh, that's dessert right there, isn't it? And then we have this other little guy right here that's called the complexus muscle. This becomes the chuck eye later on, okay? But we have 3 different muscles. So, 3 different muscles, 3 different eating experiences, right? Even you said it yourself. Okay, I like that one.
My wife likes the same.
She likes the other one? Yeah. But this one, that's the best part. Obviously, there's a different eating experience involved with each one of those. And all the time, we're talking about consistency. Now, it's not quite as bad with a middle meat cut like this, but let's talk more about like chuck cuts. Okay? You have a lot of different muscles doing a lot of different things in the chuck. And you can have really, really tender muscles right next to really, really tough muscles. So to overcome these differences in eating experiences, difference in flavor, and difference in size, and ultimately difference in price, we can put a little bit of extra work into something like this and add a lot of value to it, especially to something that right now is not necessarily discounted, but not as valuable as a lighter ribeye. There's usually between about 30 to 50 to 60 cent difference between what we call the ups and the downs. And the downs are very valuable because they can cut smaller steak sizes and still have that nice thickness to them to hit that medium rare degree of doneness, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and break this guy down. First, I need to give you a quick anatomy lesson. Okay, we've already had one anatomy joke. This isn't a joke. This is a real deal. Okay, we have the anterior side of this. Anterior meaning towards the head. The head would have been kind of out here. The chuck was separated from right here, and that's why you see 3 muscles there. Because as you get into the chuck, you get a lot more muscles because you're carrying 2/3 of the weight of the animal in the front quarter. Okay, and then we have the back side, the posterior end. I'm going to refer to this sometimes as posterior. I'll try to remember it's towards the back, okay, towards the rump area. But this is the actual 12th and 13th rib separation that the USDA grader evaluated for marbling. Okay? As this blooms up, as it's exposed to oxygen, it's going to turn redder as we go, and that marbling is really going to show. Okay? So, what do we do with this thing? Well, first, we're fancy. We are a fancy, classy bunch of people. Okay? And so what we're going to do is we're going to clean this thing up a little bit first. This is a 112A ribeye, like I was saying. Okay? 112A means lip on. That's this fat tail right here. This is the lip of the ribeye. Alright? We're going to take that off, but first, we have to do this one little thing and remove some of what we like to generously call the adjacent lean. Okay? Meaning these rib fingers. These are called rib fingers right here. Okay? You guys see that? Is that the same as this muscle? No. Say no. Okay. Good. No, it's not. Okay? And in fact, if you guys go over to TGI Fridays over here, you can get yourself some baby back ribs. Well, there's the equivalent of that in beef carcasses, just called back ribs. Okay? They sat right about there. Okay? They usually sell for $1.25, $1.50 at best, a pound. Ribeyes sell for, well, they're upwards of between $6.50 and $8 these days, a pound. So we can either go ahead and take these off with those back ribs, or we can leave a little bit of adjacent lean on this ribeye and maybe make a little bit more money. Okay, right? So that's why you usually see these things. We're just going to pop these guys off real quick. If we wanted to weigh these would be, maybe about 1/8 of a pound at best. Okay, do that 6,000 times at one location times $6.50 a pound, tends to add up after a while. Okay, so that's why you see rib fingers on these. All right, it's not going to kill you. It's just a little bit of saute stuff now. All right, so now we have that cleaned off. We're fancy. We're so fancy. We're going to take all this nasty fat off of here. Okay, because we're just a fancy bunch of people, and we don't like to have all this extra fat on. So I'm going to actually turn this into what we would call a 112 ribeye. 112 is, I keep referring to these numbers. There's actually a book up here called The Meat Buyer's Guide, and it has all these different numbers in there, but a number is associated to an actual specification or a specific cutting style. So I'm peeling this off, and I'm just going to go ahead and take this extra bit of fat off, because we're fancy. And our customers, they don't like a lot of fat on their ribeyes. We cut them this nice ribeye right here, and as we get further back into this ribeye, we get what's called kernel fat. You guys familiar with kernel fat? That's this bit of fat plug right here in between all these muscles, all these fancy muscles. I like that. That gets a little bigger as you get right about into here in that ribeye. Okay? Most people don't like it. And so, is there any way we can get rid of that dang thing and add value to that steak and quit the customers from complaining because there's too dang much fat in my ribeye? Oh, yes, but there is, I tell you. Yes, there is. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to get all this fat out of the way because they're not going to eat that anyway. So a lot of people actually out there trimming the fat off their strip roast steaks out there. I eat it. But for most folks, they don't like that, and I understand. Okay, so now we have our 112 ribeye roll. This is all pretty much meat right now. A little bit of fat kind of right in the middle. Okay, we have 3 muscles, remember. I told you there was 3 muscles. So, with that, we need to go ahead and break this guy down. On this end, actually, if we kept going towards the back of that animal, that would become strip loin. And that's what you had out there. Strip loin is primarily just that longissimus muscle. Okay? And so, whatever we do to this, we can apply easily to the strip loin. And we actually have merchandising sheets just for something like that. Okay? So, let's just go ahead and break this guy apart. Because remember I said I want consistency in my product. I don't want 3 different eating experiences when I put a plate in front of a customer. I want one. I want them to have the same bite from the first bite as the last. I want it all to taste the same, eat the same, have the same texture and everything. We got the rest of this. We got the rest of this first. This is the heart of it all, if you want. The bread and butter right here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just kind of clean this off just a little bit more. Look, all that kernel fat. We can easily just take that right off. Now, I like to leave it on there just because it adds a little bit of fat, a little bit of flavor to the steak. It's going to eat very, very well, actually, because it doesn't have very heavy connective tissue underneath it. Okay, but we can clean it up because we're fancy. And we're fancy like that. And so now, instead of cutting this big old thing, and I say big old thing as in diameter, big old thing, okay? 6-ounce steak, and we put it right there, and I tell you I can cook it to rare or very well done. So instead, let's go ahead and cut a 6-ounce ribeye medallion. Wow. Now, we have something, first off, looks like a tenderloin. So my wife's going to be very happy to see that. Okay? It's going to eat better than a tenderloin because it has some flavor in it. It's not as tender, but still, it's ribeye. It's going to be pretty darn tender, guys. Okay? It has altitude on the plate. Oh, I like to say altitude. Okay? Because, and that's a good thing because, number one, I can get your medium rare degree of doneness. Okay? That looks good, doesn't it? Ooh, boy. All right, I can get you that medium rare degree of doneness as a fancy chef. As a scientist, I'm not creative, okay? But chefs are very, very creative. And what they like to do is they have this three-dimensional art project that they're going to present to you later on, and you're going to eat it. Chefs are very particular about that. And if they can't make a three-dimensional art project out of it, they're not going to be very happy with their job, and they're going to mess up your steak. Okay? But now they have this great three-dimensional art project that has altitude on the plate, and we can get the desired degree of doneness. Isn't that exciting? Say yes.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, you guys are following along. So let's go ahead and clean this guy up. Keep cutting my nice little 6-ounce steaks. These are some beauties. As we keep going, uh-oh, why are they getting thinner? They're still 6 ounces, but why are they getting thinner? Oh, I know. This complexus muscle used to sit right there and took up some of that room. Remember, it looked like a whole cylinder, a straight cylinder all the way down? Well, this guy took up some of that room, and so down on the chuck end, we had a smaller ribeye muscle, a smaller longissimus muscle, and this was actually it right here. You can see the size of it. Okay? As we get towards the strip loin end, it gets much bigger. In fact, almost twice the size. And that's what we did. We took our Texas butter knife. Bad group to say that to. Okay, thanks. Take my Texas butter knife. I cut it in half. Oh no! But we've never done that before. Too bad. We're going to still cut it. Nice 6-ounce steaks, and they're still going to be about the same size. You guys can clap again if you'd like. Thank you. Thank you. Also, a nice little 2-person roast right there. You guys heard of a Chateaubriand? No, this is not that fancy of a group apparently. A Chateaubriand, that's a tenderloin roast, usually served for 2 carved tableside. Wow, how about that? Okay, so we just paid for that ribeye by adding this value to this particular piece. Okay, we'll set that guy aside. So now, what do we do with the rest of this thing? Just grind it, right? Oh no, this gentleman over here would tackle me. Do not grind that thing. Absolutely not. First off, let's separate these muscles because we're fancy. We like to separate these muscles, and we're going to get 2 different eating experiences if we left them together. Now, there's not much to this one. Usually they're a little bit bigger, but of course, I cut a little bit off when I cut this first steak. Okay? Usually they're just a little bit longer, especially on a larger ribeye. Okay? They're about the size of a small pork tenderloin. Also, what chefs like to do is, once again, roast it or just throw it right on the grill and get some heat to it, slice it up, put it on a salad. My wife likes to eat those steak salads. I like to eat the steak and feed the salad to the steak. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay. Pre-steak is what we like to call them for beef animals. Okay, so now we have what's left, the spinalis muscle. We'll clean this guy up. I'm going to put a lot of work into this thing. This is something that some folks at the last meeting up in Grand Island, they were saying, man, you put a lot of work into that thing, and it doesn't look like you got all that much meat. I say, sir, have you ever had one of these? You will pay for it. Okay? It's pretty dang good. I'm going to take that little multifidus muscle off, that one that Dr. Morgan would have called me out on if I didn't mention it. So I'm going to take that guy off. Okay, that's still pretty darn good eating right there. I'm going to let the kitchen staff know that we appreciate them. We're going to clean the rest of this fat off because we're fancy. And we're going to be so fancy, we're going to skin this thing. We're going to take what's called the silver skin right off of this thing. See it? There we go. Oh, yeah. You know why we call it silver skin?
Could be because it's silver.
It's silver and it's skin-like.
Yeah.
Okay? So we take that silver skin off. So we've just filleted this stuff right off of there. Look at that. Oh, how beautiful. This is the same stuff that actually normally when you prepare a tenderloin for a restaurant, you skin that tenderloin as well. So we're going to do the same on this side here. I mean, there's not a lot left, is there? But oh, so good. Okay, to the point where now we do have some cut shops, food service cut shops, which means once the first place that the packer sells it to before it goes to a restaurant is usually a food service cut shop or a distributor. The cut shop will actually cut steaks. The distributor usually just sells the boxed product directly to the restaurant, kind of as a delivery service. But the cut shops are now taking these ribeyes, breaking them down as you've just seen, and they take one of these salmon fillets. It kind of looks like a salmon fillet, but it's not. It's meat. Okay, so they take one of these things, they go and introduce it to one of their fancy chefs, who they think is going to pay for it. They charge them $19 a pound. What? You say $19 a pound for ribeye? Yes, $19 a pound for that thing, because I got to recover all this cost right here. Okay, but nonetheless, we're going to charge $19 a pound for it. It had a lot of yield loss, and we had to put a lot of time into it. But you cut yourself one of these steaks and serve one of these 6-ounce portions. That's a little smaller than 6 ounces, but nonetheless, 6-ounce portion. Okay, so $19 a pound, 6-ounce portion. It's about $1.18, $1.19 an ounce. For that 6-ounce portion, it's a $7 steak that the restaurateur just paid. 30%. Usually you factor in 30% of your food cost for your final restaurant menu price. Get you around $23. Let's bump it up to making it even 25. Would you pay 25 bucks for a nice spinella steak? Sitting down? Yes, sir, you would. Absolutely. This is a profit piece right here, guys. You don't take savings to the bank, you take profits to the bank. Is that right? Okay? We just made a lot of profits, even though we had to put a little bit more time into it.